Now, I've never escaped from prison before, but man does Metal Harbor make me want to give it a go. There's nothing like being falsely imprisoned for a crime you didn't commit just to say screw authority and break out of the Sonic universe equivalent of Alcatraz. The level begins with a speedy dash followed by a beautiful jump to the skies. The only thing spoiling your view is your enemy's name plastered over a massive rocket that may or may not be foreshadowing what's to come. If it wasn't already clear, this game really likes to fully establish what the main conflict of a level is, both before it begins and as it starts. You're only a few seconds in and you're already shown that Gun won't be letting you escape their facility that easy. This is further shown by the yellow blinking lights, which can mean different things based on context, but here it's pretty clear they're telling you to yield. You'll also see tons of yellow and black striped lines, which often means either stop, be cautious, or Jesus Christ, the hedgehog we pin Xiao's crimes on has broken out of his prison. It's up to interpretation. The loop-de-loop is splendid, but for those of you that don't like even short automation, you can easily jump out of it and continue on your way. Everybody wins. This path's got one rail on each side, fulfilling your grinding needs. But remember these rings. They'll be important for later. This fork in the road is somewhat of a moral decision. You could either take the path assist route or the gun-aside route. Both choices are frisky, but I prefer sticking to my guns whenever possible. Those homing attack chains may get you in the mood to destroy the other bot to the side, which leads to a Chow box on top of a container. As much as I love Chow, their box here isn't the interesting part. It's that you're shown that you can land on these containers. At first you may have passed them up as set pieces in the background, but they're useful beyond that. The coolest example being something that's about to come up. The main path leads you to a checkpoint in a spring, but you can't ignore this insanely long trail of rings that ends at that platform over there. The main issue being that most of them are suspended over water, so you're left wondering how in the world you'd even begin to collect those ones. Your only option here is to bounce and bounce away to the platform. But what about the containers? You'll notice that there's a couple containers stationed alongside the ring trail. With the spin dash jump, you can easily make it to them and platform across. There's no reward for taking this route, but I just find it neat. This platform's got some mechanisms holding onto gun crates. Well, this is a harbor after all, so it should come to no one's surprise that they've got supplies to transfer under the skies. These gun beetles are in a neat homing attack path, but there's an offshoot of a couple to the left, along with a 1-up, which you just can't ignore, and if you don't ignore it, then you'll have to make a split-second decision if you want to homing attack the golden beetle that appeared out of nowhere. After trashing the bots that gave up their lives to help you cross, you'll find yourself stuck like a sitting duck. How the fudge are you supposed to get to the other side? A spin dash jump from here doesn't even come close to making the gap. Ignoring Omochao, you're kind of just left to walk around and figure out for yourself what to do when this pulley mechanism sticks out to you. Taking it brings you to a shining beacon of hope, the Light Shoes, which allows you to follow a path of rings no matter how much water it's floating over. This lets you cross the insurmountable gap to the other side, which reminds me, let's check back on those rings at the beginning. When you're playing the level for the first time, you'll likely pass them off as just a bunch of normal rings, but when you replay the level, their value becomes realized with the Light Speed Dash, seamlessly placing you onto the left rail, maintaining your speed as you progress. The point of that stupefying trail of rings by the checkpoint becomes clear too. They're both meant to up the replay value after you acquire the Light Shoes. But fun fact, did you know that it's actually possible to complete this level without acquiring the Light Shoes? You simply need to climb up to the top of this structure and perform a spin dash jump. Not getting the Light Shoes may cause a problem in a future level, but not this one. This runway grants you tons of room to run your way on, but it also does the same for the fighter jets dropping bombs on you. I seem to be getting flashbacks to Radical Highway, where Gun was doing the same thing. It looks like they only feel comfortable bombing places where there aren't any civilians around, which doesn't explain their massive truck maneuver at the end of City Escape, but hey, I guess their air force is just built different. Speaking of which, these jets can be destroyed with a simple jump. Their engineers really need to step their game up. If you look to the left, you'll see a 1-up box floating too high for you to reach, but if you approach it, you'll start to see some gun beetles appear before you. How polite of them to arrange themselves in a rising pattern so you can reach the reward. Their charity will be appreciated for as long as I can go without saying the word runway. If you keep left on the runway, then you'll see some open storage units, one containing a chow box and the other containing 2 gun beetles that appear out of nowhere. Not sure what their purpose is here. It would have been nice to see some enemies that actually fire upon you, but hey, I guess you can't win them all. The storage unit above contains some ruins, which can be accessed with the bounce bracelet or a spin dash jump off this slant. Playing the Mystic Melody here will cause multiple platforms to appear ahead of the left side of the runway. With careful jumps, they'll lead you to a 1-up if you're doing the first mission, or a chow if you're doing the third. But there's a problem. The first mission, unlike the third, doesn't end here. You have to keep going, but where do you go? The camera just kind of zooms into the 1-up here as if it expects you to be done with the level. You can spin dash jump to the ruins and back to the runway, and you can spin dash jump to the platform after the runway, but without the camera helping you, these are blind jumps. Either the devs expected you to pull them off or just flat out forgot to place some platforms here. Oh, but let's not forget ourselves to check what Sonic says in this level. The first being, "I'm out of here," which doubles as a reference to when he says the same thing in Sonic CD after being still for a long time, and as a way to show just how done he is with this place. But one of my favorite Idol lines is this one where he says, "I'm impressed." There's just something about Sonic's cocky nature shrugging off the threat of the military that's hilarious to me. The last part of the runway has a long trail of rings extending out to a platform. Earlier I said that this level can be completed without getting the light shoes, but it looks necessary here, so how do you get across without them? You can't use the bounce bracelet or the Mystic Melody power-ups because you don't have them yet, and spin dash jumping shenanigans don't seem to grant you enough distance, so what gives? Well, what if I told you there's a hidden platform down below that contains a rocket which will bring you to the other side? My best guess for why this was placed here is to save any players that accidentally fell off the runway when attempting to use their newfound ability. Here you're presented with a section that requires you to go uphill and make an awkward 90-degree turn to the next platform, if you don't use the Lightspeed Dash. Until now it's only been used to cross deadly gaps, but here you're shown how it can make traversing even the main path easier. Just a simple alignment with the first ring, a button press, and you're good to go. This half-D loop is pretty cool, and if you don't like automation, you can skip it. This dash panel may feel unnecessary to you, but it's alright, you can skip it. After getting pulled up a couple times, you'll reach a beautiful loop-de-loop. But if you hate them, then guess what? You can skip them. Do you see where I'm getting at? I've heard a few too many people bag on some of the automation in the speed stages, but there's almost always a way of speeding them up or flat out skipping them entirely. And let me tell you, these aren't hard or obscure skips, by the way. You don't gotta be a genius or break your fingers to jump right before the dash panel or hop off a loop-de-loop. Sure, that's not something a first-timer may think of in the heat of the moment, but the ones that really hate automation are going to try and fight it. And when they do, such as when they're on a loop-de-loop, they'll find that the game allows you to come up with your own skips. That's why a lot of the automated moments in SE2's levels are great, along with the fact that they look pretty sick if you let them play out. Those pulling mechanisms I mentioned earlier aren't that special, admittedly. I would have preferred another section like the one next to the checkpoint, where there are some platforms you need to cross but can chain a couple Lightspeed dashes together as a more speedy route. After running through the very skippable if you don't like automation loop-de-loop, you'll have a joyful jog and somersault to meet some friends. Forgot to mention, all your friends are robots. These gun beetles are arranged with the same purpose all the earlier ones had, to help you get from one place to another, and they even left you with a pardoning gift of some rings. How kind of them. The final section of the level takes place on a bunch of scaffolds, which have been scattered all over in the background, but now you're on one, with no other platforms in sight to proceed. This must be where the goal ring is, right? Oh, you naive soul. Taking a few steps further will smack you in the face with a countdown and a voice telling you that the missile's about to fire. What are you doing? Go! If you die, then I'll take care of your chow. But wait, in a panic, you throw yourself up the scaffolds as the timer counts down to your demise before finding a spring that... brings it a safety. Let's rewind. This section's awesome. It gives you a surge of adrenaline as you frantically make your way up trying to escape your doom. But even in a situation like this, there are multiple paths to take. You could stay on the scaffolds and follow the set path, you could hit one of the springs to get ahead, and you even have the option to ignore the safety spring and continue climbing the scaffold, challenging yourself even further and cutting it insanely close. This upping the stakes route can be difficult even for those doing doing it on a repeat playthrough. You've got to quickly maneuver through the gun beetles, perform a light speed dash, decide if you're gonna save the Phoenix, you always should, and hit the spring. Taking this top handle awards you with more points than if you played it safe, which is good if you're trying to attempt the A rank of this level, but was it worth it? Yes. The answer is always yes. There are two possibilities with what this missile is about. The first possibility is that Gun saw that Sonic had landed on its launching pad and decided to take him out by any means necessary, even if it meant launching the thing. It's not like they haven't done crazy stuff like that before. The second possibility is that this missile was already set to go off and Sonic either triggered it by running on the scaffolds or was just unfortunate enough to be around as the countdown began. Our answer to this question might lie with Omochao, who informs you that the missile's about to launch before any countdown has started. This means that the missile launch was already set to go and Sonic was just having a bad day, or Gun knew Sonic was going to get there and prepared the missile beforehand. Okay, that doesn't really clear up anything. You know what? I'm just gonna call this one a rule of cool moment and move on. Wait! I've got it. No, I got it. I really do. Gun had to have purposely launched this missile. There's no other explanation for why it fires the moment Sonic grabs a hold of a handle. They must have seen what route Sonic was taking and prepared the missile to launch. Then, when Sonic got close, they started the countdown to bait him into grabbing onto the very thing that'll fly him back to his prison. That also explains why the missile doesn't explode, because they're not trying to kill him, they're trying to capture him. I'm sorry for getting so excited, but this has just been something that's been on my mind ever since I got onto that missile. I had no clue what the point of it was, and I finally figured it out. God, I'm so happy. Regardless of whatever theory holds the most weight, Sonic was having none of this rocket business. And decides to take the wheel. I can't even say my lines anymore. Regardless of whatever theory holds the most weight, Sonic was having none of this rocket business and decides to take the wheel and jump off. And he doesn't even have a board this time. Oh, there it is. And there were people who said City Escape's opening section was a one-off mechanic. What a bunch of sillies. This air duct, coupled with the pump and tune, tripled by all the goodies, makes this finale of the level have quadruple the fun. Math isn't my strong suit. As you approach the end, you're reminded of the spectacles this level had, the bots that sacrificed themselves along the way, and the joy you experienced as you broke free of the shackles that held you down. With one final loop-de-loop, you launch yourself into the goal ring and finally achieve freedom from this island. That is, until Green Force makes you crap yourself.
Now you know why I am the best.